Dream a singer, see a sister, medicine woman, walk with me through the valleys to the rich tops, sacred mountain, keep us free. Trails of tears, remove oppression, land back where we still be. Thunders, eagles, bears, panthers, spirit to spirit, dance together. Medicine woman, dance with me. Spirit to spirit, dance with me. Water brings us into balance. Dreamer, singer, peace bringer, medicine man, walk with me. Mystery seer, helpful man, protect our ways for eternity. Walking in strength, empowering wisdom, step into the world we see. Ancestors, bison, stones, bones, spirit to spirit, dance together. Medicine woman, dance with me. Spirit to spirit, dance with me. Wind brings us into balance. Dreamer, singer, new life bringer, magic baby, love with me. Shine your moonlight, share your stardust, connect us with your galaxy. Cool and cuddle, innocent to trouble, floating in an agency. Dawn out, sunrise love, spirit to spirit, dance together. Medicine woman, dance with me. Spirit to spirit, dance with me. Earth brings us into balance. Dreamer, singer, seeker, finder, gifted one, share with me. Rise with noon sun to your highest lies, peak, energy. Set our spirit free. Stomp with humility, best that you can be. Rattle the cage of humanity. Daylight, dark night, spirit to spirit, dance together. Medicine woman, dance with me. Spirit to spirit, dance with me. Fire brings us into balance. Welcome everyone, Sioganelli. We're happy to be here with you today and talk about our animal friends and the things that they have taught us. So it's really, really sweet topic, and we're going to have a lot of fun sharing, and I'm hoping that we can share some really exciting and uncommon things that the animals have taught us, because in this series that we're working on right now, we are talking about the prophecy, the Cherokee prophecy that says we are on the verge of the fifth world. And the animals are teaching us to be more fully human so that we can stay on Earth together and continue as this wave of humans where we all share ancestors. So I encourage you to call to your river basin, call in the spirits on the land where you are that have done their work, and call in the river, call in the ancestors and the archetypes to be with us tonight as we share some really amazing stories from teachings that the animals have shared with humans. So I'm going to go ahead and share as example, and I'm going to read this actually from my book that I'm about to finish and will probably be available on Amazon within the next few weeks. So I want to give you a little taste of what's in the book, and also share some of my favorite experiences from the animals with you. So the Copperhead's teaching. Ooh, and a cardinal just flew right into the window. I don't know if you guys saw it, but it just came to say hello. My experience of a venomous snake physically moving me away from her nest is one of the most vivid memories I carry. Over 30 years later, it has not faded. I was standing at the edge of a small pond I had built by the stream when I first bought this land on the mountain that you can see right here. And while building it, I had frequently felt a mysterious energy around twilight. As day became night, something would make me stand up immediately from the mud and the stones, look all around me with the feeling that something enormous was breathing down my neck. And then I would leave because it was spooky and scary. So I had always obeyed that feeling without quite understanding it. This particular time, the feeling came in the middle of the day. I was standing on my favorite large flat stone at the pond's edge, gently lifting a small papyrus plant up out of the water like this. I was fluffing its head so that it would stand on its own. And I had been doing this for several minutes when I felt the mysterious energy again. I looked down at my feet as they began to move, sending me backwards off the stone and away from the pond without any intention on my part. I landed securely on the bank and stood there watching the stone I had just been standing on in genuine awe. Then a mother copperhead shot out from underneath it, moving across the water's surface with absolute majesty. Her head was wet, shining in the sunlight with a deep feminine beauty. Her nest was under the stone. She could have struck me at any moment while I stood there, but she had chosen instead to use this extraordinary ability to move my entire body with no physical contact to guide me to safety. In that moment, I also understood the twilight feeling. It was the vipers coming out to feed. They had been choosing all along to teach rather than to harm. I had been looking upward and outward for the numinous energy when it had been coming from a creature among the closest to the grounding element of earth. She was not a threat. She was a teacher, one of the most patient and generous ones I have ever had. And then here's another experience with the deer of how our power animals truly help us. You know, we treat this kind of woo-woo flippantly, unfortunately, and we don't get the full impact of it. So I'm hoping that sharing this story will take us back to the full potential of the animals as helpers. So when I was working as a CFO, there was a time that I was preparing the CEO for a critical board of directors meeting. In one of our calls, he suddenly said, "I have to tell you something. There's a dead deer in my yard this morning." And he asked, "Can your people do anything with it?" I offered to put the word out. 3 days passed and no one came forward to work with that deer. He called again, asking what he could do. I told him about finding an uprooted tree in the forest as a place to bury an animal with ceremony once before. He went quiet for a long moment. Then he said, "There's a grave in the woods behind my house." Of course, he lived in the most expensive neighborhood in town, so I asked about the grave, and the story came out very slowly. His son had been struggling severely in high school. One day, unable to find him anywhere in the house, he went into the forest and found a grave his son had dug for himself. When he returned to the house, his son was on the roof. He was somehow able to talk him inside. This had happened just before the deer appeared in his yard, and now, hearing it aloud, he felt the truth of it move through him. The deer had come to take his son's place in that grave. The animal had offered itself so that the young man did not have to. He wept. I suggested he take his family to the grave with cedar and offerings and bury the deer together in acknowledgement and gratitude. This is what animal helpers do, not in ways we would have predicted or engineered, in nonlinear, acausal, magical ways that are helpful beyond our possible imaginings. So hopefully you all have experiences of this nature, of this really helpful, deep, uncommon teachings of animals sharing life with you. So I would like to ask Patricia in Brazil at this time if she would share an experience with us, please.
Yes, it's an honor to share private, actually, because what happened with me directly with a snake was a teaching that I have carried all along, because I have a profile. My family knows about this particular profile I have of trying to, harmonize everything. And when there's a fight amongst it, when I was a kid, I would come and separate my brother and brothers, or my dad and my mother, when they were getting into a conflict with one another. That was something that I naturally would do, jump in, trying to, bring harmony, right? So I was invading spaces of others to bring harmony and peace. And the experience I'm going to share with you, I live in an NGO in a place remote in Bahia, Chapada Diamantina. And here at my NGO at the beginning, we had a lot of, little conflicts and, problems. And we were all united here under our little temple. And it wasn't working. So I decided to go for a walk. And as I went for a walk with my little stick into the woods, I walked, and all of a sudden I heard, like leaves messing around. I looked and said, what's going on? There must be an insect or a little animal that's caught in between the leaves. And as I came close, I said, I remembered what Don Juan of Carlos Castaneda told him. Whatever you see, let it go. It's not yours. You're not the one to go and save the world. Keep going. So I said, okay. I kept walking, but then I heard again. I said, oh my gosh, this little animal's caught somewhere. I got to get him out of that entanglement. And so I walked back. And I did this several times, over and over. You know, I would hear that teaching I had from the past. Don't you try to solve and save the world. Come on, let it go. But I couldn't. So I came real close to the place where I was hearing the and about a meter away, I finally saw a rattlesnake, huge rattlesnake that showed up. And I was completely, shocked at what I was seeing. She was there, and I said, oh my gosh. But instead of turning away and running away, I knelt and I was there in silence, just looking at it while she was going with her rattle. But then she quieted down and we were in silence, both of us, staring at one another, you know. And then finally I said, okay, whatever. I stood up and left, gave a few steps forward. And as soon as I left about 3 meters away, a huge falcon came down after the rattlesnake, and the rattlesnake ran away. So there was a conversation going on between the bird, the falcon, and the rattlesnake. They were they were having their story. And here I am trying to save that little whatever that was there, But I was, and then when I saw that happen, that's their story. That's the falcon coming in and going after the rattlesnake, and she was, giving her return to the bird. And that, as I walked back slowly, was so clear to me. It wasn't what I had heard from Don Juan or Castaneda. It was that experiencing, my gosh, I'm going into their story. And as I sat there and talked to the rattlesnake in my way, in my silence, that's what silence, quiet. Don't come in trying to save the world with you. You don't even know. This is their story. Come on, let it go. It was so clear, that teaching for me, that I have carried that on and trying my best not to interfere in others' stories unless I'm called for, unless I'm requested for. It doesn't mean that I'm indifferent. It's not the case of, oh, I don't care what's going on in this world. No. But how do I come in? How do I present myself? How do I discern what's going on in my surrounding to take action? Now, I could have killed myself just by going with my stick and pulling out and trying to save that rattle. She would have jumped in me, right? Or whatnot. So that's the experience I had and that I've been carrying for all these years. I haven't solved it. I still find myself, trying to put the pieces together and help. But that's not what I should do or we should do. It's something's happening in nature. They know what they're doing. They have their stories to deal with. And who are we to interfere? It doesn't mean we forget and I don't care what's going on in this world. It's not about that. But the discernment, the moment, the correct way of stepping in is something I learned directly from these two, the rattlesnake and the bird there. So that's, to make a long story short and maybe long, but that's what I experienced directly here in nature where I live. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Patricia. Lenny, would you like to share an experience with us at this time? Yeah,
There,
Lenny.
I can talk
Right.
now. I do see Brother James here too, who might also like to
He will
share.
go after you. Yeah.
Okay. You might also video-wise like to join us. But anyway, yeah, I'd love to share. I've got some we've been doing this is the third part of our series. We've been talking about, the history, the mythology of the animals. And then we talked about, what we can learn directly just from observing animals. So I'd like to, have us think about perception. How do we see? What is it? So often we hear these stories and then we translate what we hear into, our thoughts. And sometimes it triggers visual things. Sometimes it triggers something deeper inside ourselves. But it's all a translation of perception. What we're trying to do in this series is go beyond that. As you've been hearing from Gail and from Tricia, they weren't translating at those times. It was just direct experience, direct what was happening with them. Totally connected. So I'd like to share a few things about the animals. They're so powerful because they have that connection. They don't translate. They walk this earth totally connected to everything around them. They don't know the separation that us humans tend to create within ourselves. We're multisensory beings. We perceive in so many things beyond our 5 senses or 7 senses. Scientists say we have 25 to 32 senses. Who knows exactly the right amount? They're still discovering it. And they're discovering it by studying animals. So, for instance, dogs, cats, when they hear an animal or something, their ears turn. Well, 25 million years ago, humans used to be able to do that. And we have still that vestigial muscle. So when we have a sudden sound, we have this insider twist in our muscle that tweaks because it's trying to turn to hear those noises. Migrating birds, they sense, and how do they migrate? They have a sense of the magnetic spectrum of the earth. We too have that. When they take a strong earth-sized magnet near us, it changes our alpha rhythm in our brain. So we are sensing in so many things. When we get on a plane, and let's say the blinds are closed, so we don't have any visual thing that we're lifting. But yet when we lift up into the air and we take off, what happens? We see the front of the plane tilt. Well, visually, there's no difference. It's because our inner ear senses a change. And because of that, we are visual beings. So we create that change in our vision from the inner ear, not from actually what we see. Pet viper. Vipers can see in the infrared. So do we. Our sensitivity in our skin can feel that. Before we even touch anything, or anything touches us, we sense it being there. These are part of our multiple senses. UV light, bees, reindeer, they actually see in the ultraviolet spectrum. We do too. Our body senses it. And fact is, when we get that ultraviolet light, it triggers melanin production, vitamin B, vitamin D, not B. So our body is reacting always to the wider spectrum that we walk in, because we aren't separated from all these things. Nagaset, which is the Mi'kmaq word for sun, that would brings us light, that which brings us daylight, that's what shines upon us. To them, it's an animate. It's an animate being that's out there. It's not separate from us. It's not just something we see in the sky. It is interacting with us directly through those rays. And that's why, so many people recognize that sun and greet it in the morning because they're recognizing what it does directly to them, as the animals do. I know when I sit out here by my pond every morning, the birds come alive as the sun comes alive. I hear their noises. They start speaking to each other. The whole mystery of life comes alive because it's no mystery. It's just direct experience, what we're feeling and sensing. That's what the animals teach us. They teach us that directness. Don't separate things. Walk where you feel everything. Don't interpret it. Just be with it. I'd like to tell you a personal experience. I was years and years ago, I started a journey trying to do that with myself, trying to, you know, trust in what I feel and sense and see, shut off my intellect. We call it intuition, go with our intuition. But intuition is really all those things I was just talking about, and so many more things that we walk with every day, that we feel and sense. So that was my journey, I was just new at this and had a few teachings about, we should connect with things and trust in that connection. And I was in Australia, way out in the outback near Alice Springs, if you know where that is. And I was about a couple hours in the eastern McDonald from that. It's not an area that tourists go to. It's just dry canyon river valleys, totally dry. And it was like kind of like it was here today, 90 degrees, but there it was more like 100 degrees. And it was so hot, And one of my little hobbies, you might say, is when I travel, I look for petroglyphs or pictographs. I look for those places that, the ancestors left their history, wrote it down, and the only way that we know that they recorded it are through all stories, which are very powerful in themselves. So it was so hot. There's no way you were going to go hiking or go anywhere, and there's very little water around, and so I found a little bit of shade because sun was quite high in the sky, so there wasn't much shade to be found. And I sat down in this little shadow, and there's this little pool, not much bigger than, oh, I don't know, 10 feet around, and it was just the pool and me, sun reflecting off the water. I'm sitting there in the shade. My mind just kind of shut off. I just sat there and sat there and sat there. I'm not even sure how much time went by. Later on, reflecting upon it, I had a better idea. But all of a sudden, I sensed the trees. There's these great big huge gum trees. And the roots go down so deep because I'm sitting in a dry river valley. But of course, it fills up when the torrential rains come and it becomes a flowing river like crazy. But then it was dry as could be, except for this little wee pool of water. And I could sense the roots going down to that water. I could sense that the vibrations of that and the life force emanating from that water, drawing deep. And then these birds appeared. They just started coming to this little pond, this source of life to them, water. And they came in different ways. There was different birds. Some would scoop down and not even touch it and scoop up with a mouthful of water. Others would hop to the side and put their beak in, take a little drink. And here I am sitting right beside this little pool with my feet in it. And I would say blind to them, but that's not true. I wasn't blind. I just was part of their existence. There wasn't any threat. There wasn't any separation. It was just me being there with them. So they just carried on as they would always carry on, with no separation. They didn't have to change their ways. Then other birds came. Some would hop, and then some would sit there and swim for a little bit and drink. I sat there for hours and hours. I don't know exactly how much time passed, but then it cooled down. So quite a bit of time must have passed because the sun was lower in the horizon. So as that sun changed, I could feel the change and realized, oh, I can get up and move around now. It's not so hot. I'm not so hot anymore. So I started down the valley, and I've been through this valley for the last few days camping there, looking for the petroglyphs, looking for pictographs, because you can find them in places, and other places you find nothing. So, I knew there was nothing there because I had walked all through the canyon and looked pretty closely. So as I was just walking out, not too far from the pond, one of the birds came back, and one of my totem birds is the raven. People come to visit me, they often see the raven, and I just know what people tell me. That's how come I know the raven walks with me, because others tell me these things. And sure enough, this blackbird came and flew right into the canyon wall. It's like, whoa, how could it do that? I wonder if it's heard. I should go check. So I walked in, and here were these petroglyphs, all on the walls, all right there. The birds led me right to them. Just from sitting, just from being. Somehow they sensed what I was looking for, that was a good journey. So, I studied them for a little bit, and I walked a little further on, and the bird came back from nowhere and swooped down again and disappeared into this hole in the wall. I said, whoa, more petroglyphs? Wow, we're going to check this out. So off I went, but it wasn't petroglyphs. It was a hole. It was a cave. So I crawled into this small cave, and whoo, temperature just dropped. It was so cool, so beautiful in there. And I put my hand up, feeling around the cave, and I felt this staff sitting there. And the energy that coursed through me when I touched that staff was like overwhelming. It was so powerful. And I knew I had no right to touch that staff. It wasn't for me. I'm not going to take that stuff and say, oh, look what I found, this powerful object. Oh, it was a powerful lesson because I was starting my journey. My journey was, to learn, to experience, not to separate. So the lesson was also, as we do this journey, things will come to us as we need to know them. And sometimes we're not quite ready for that. Maybe we haven't got enough connection with everything. I'm not going to try to intellectual too much because this is afterthoughts. The whole point I was trying to make by saying about our senses, and that is, don't intellectualize it. Look at the animals. Feel the sun upon us. Feel the Earth's magnetic rotation. Feel those things directly. Walk without separation. And the spirit guides will guide us. Because when we're not disconnected, the universe is just what we're walking in, and it will help guide us feet to where we need to go. And that is why we are doing this series, to lead us there, to make us aware of that walk. And the animals are always teaching if we just pay attention. Thank you.
Thank you, Annie. James, would you like to share some experiences with us at this time?
Okay, there we go. I didn't know if I could unmute or not.
You can turn on your camera too.
I didn't
Great.
know if we had control of it or not. So I just left it alone. I don't have any profound experiences except that my whole life, um, I try to observe the animals, everything around me, because uh, and I'm never um, it never ceases to amaze me how when you do take the time to um, observe, look at things around you, watch what they're doing. They're all a mirror. They're all a reflection, and they're here to teach us because we are the ones that are lost. Um, but there's so many lessons. Even the small lessons to me are profound. Um, Whatever it is, and it's always fitting at that moment. Um, the relationships with with the animals, with the plants, and the only one, as we all know, the only one that has a problem fitting in is us. Um, but yeah, the just the small lessons every single day, if you take the time to be aware and observe, listen, um, not just with your eyes, but with all of your senses, and then you're listen with your heart. Um, there there isn't a day that won't go by. Maybe that's not the way I mean it, but you will learn something every single day, even even if it's a small thing. It's still a stepping stone on your journey towards growing as a human being, and it's all important. And that's what I would say. That's, but I don't have any profound, not that I can think of right at the moment, anyway.
That's
Can I
great,
add
James.
something to what you said, James?
Sure.
Because it came to me a memory because, it's how one time I was doing meditation and qigong and inner alchemy, and lots of butterflies were running around. And I said, "Oh, I would love to see a blue water butterfly because I love the blue butterflies." And I
hmm
was just, "Oh, where are they?" And all of a sudden, just because I silenced and I had my hands open like that, a blue butterfly came and sat on the palm of my hand. A
Right.
beautiful, just because I silenced,
hmm
instead
hmm
of, I said, blue butterfly. And she came and sat there, and I just watched her. And, I felt, my gosh, silence, silence. And then I started to walk through the woods with her without moving until I came out of the woods. When I was going to leave the woods, she flew away. So the interaction between us and nature, when we go into silence and just observe,
hmm
something magical happens, right? It
Yeah,
doesn't have to
that's
be something huge or big.
no, no. But to me, even those small things are profound because just like what you were talking about, when we're in that space, we're getting a glimpse of what it's like to be in their world, um, interacting. Nothing is complicated, nothing is confusing. They're not lost. They know exactly what they're doing. And in that moment, we have a glimpse of how how things should be, how maybe that's the natural way to be more when we're not in that space, we're not behaving according to nature, you know. And so yeah, it's extremely profound to me, even though they're small things.
Thank you both. It's very, very sweet to be able to share in these ways. Normally Michael would go next, but I think he's having connection problems with his phone. So I'm going to start our community engagement, and I think I'm going to leave the live stream on if everybody's okay with that, in case Michael does come back in and want to add to this. And if you're comfortable, Marquita Soleil, Pamela, can you make sure she can turn on her mic and video and share some of her experiences? I know she's been trained as an animal handler, and I see her handling the snakes a lot, which is very admirable. So Marquita, would you like to share with us at this time?
Sure, yeah. So thanks for hosting this and everybody's stories. So yeah, I'm an animal handler at the Nature Center and work with other animals at Lucky's Wildlife. And it's wonderful because I've gotten to know the little skunk that we have. He runs around and everyone thinks he might be, I guess, descented, but no, he sometimes he puts his tail up at us, but he doesn't spray us or anything. You know, he's just a good little boy. So, but yeah, it's fun being around all these little guys. But I think the snakes have taught me the most because I grew up being afraid of snakes. And I used to think snakes were going to come and chase me and bite me. And it was irrational. But yeah, I was like everyone else that wanted to just chop snakes in half, which is terrible. Um, so as I was training, well, I went to the nature center to learn to be to work with opossums, but I had to learn snakes first. So I was scared and I didn't want my teacher, Christy, to know. And I just had to really just be brave because she was telling me about the snakes and it came for the day to work with the snakes. I was excited, but I was scared. And she said, well, go ahead and get the snake out. And I was very scared to put my hand in there to get this white snake out. I think he might have been an albino snake, but somehow I was able to do it without freaking out and without letting her know I was a chicken. But maybe I shouldn't say chicken. I should just say I was scared. But I got the snake out, and it was a small snake, and everything went well. But even months after that, every time I would start to put my hand in, I would be scared. I mean, it took a long time to overcome that. And now I love the snakes. I mean, my dog Louie, he's not much of a cuddler. So I think I've got to go to the nature center and get my snake therapy because they love to snuggle. They like to go in here. I don't let them, but they would prefer to go in here or to get in here and snuggle with me. And but yeah, and I even have a picture of one of my good friends here. Um, if you can see, he's a king snake, and I'm about 5 foot. He's taller, longer than I am tall, but I love him. He's so strong, and I feel very protected when I'm with him. People are scared of him, but he is a very gentle guy, and I really think about his energy when I'm alone at night sometimes, and I look at his picture and I can just feel that warmth and that dance, that magical dance between me and the snakes when I'm holding them. I have to be careful with them. I have to, and then I have to think also, well, they're brave to be with me. I mean, I never think about it from that point of view until the other day. Why is it that I'm the brave one? They're brave and they're very respectful to be doing what we're doing together, to educate that they are peaceful and to leave them in peace. They don't want to eat me. They don't have enough venom to waste on me. So I'm thankful, and they don't want to. They're very peaceful. So they've really taught me to be brave and that magical dance with them and to look to them for protectors. So that's why I have the picture of this this king snake. When I'm scared, I think about him and how he loves me and I love him. So yeah, they're snugglers and cuddlers, and they're a blessing.
Thank you, Marquita. I've always heard that the snakes protected the goddesses in ancient times. So I'm glad to hear that you have that experience as well. And let's see, Michael is not made it back, so I don't know if Louis or Oltan wants to share. Do you guys have any experiences you want to share? Just open your camera and your mic and speak with us if you want to.
Maybe Louis wants to share. He has so many dogs and he's been always with or surrounded by them. Do you want to share something, Louis, about your experience or Marianne with animals?
Emma, can you make sure he can turn on his camera and unmute?
Hello.
Hello, Louis. Welcome.
Yeah,
Welcome.
I listening to all your stories, I surely cannot come close to those. I probably would have to go back a lot to find out, but I am, like you people, a very great respecter of animals, and I have a lot of contact with them, all varieties. So yeah, I don't have specific stories to tell, or not right off the top of my head. Sorry.
Okay, yeah, we didn't want to put you on the spot. That's all good. Anyone else? Otan, do you have anything you want to share? Or anyone else want to say anything before we say goodnight? I guess Pam will just make sure everyone can turn on their camera and mic and speak if they want to.
Yeah, everything seems to be working.
Thank you. Good. Okay, so I'm sorry we didn't get to hear from Michael. And I appreciate everyone who did come and share with us. And look forward to hearing more about your stories. Feel free to post in the comments if you're on the live stream, or come join us in any way that you can and share your stories. There's no time limit. You know, maybe you'll get some exciting adventures after speaking of all this, and you're welcome to share them if you do. So at this time, let's give Michael another minute. I'm going to sing us out with a gratitude song that came to me from the spring here on this land. It came in the Lakota ceremony language because I had held ceremony, Inipikaga sweat lodge ceremony here on the mountain by the spring for 15 years. So join me with your drum or your rattle or your voice or any frequency that you can generate. Join me and let's sing our gratitude. Hold it in our heart. Yeah, I got to turn on my sound to let this rattle in. So here we go. Kunkashala, unchimalai, mitakieo, unchimaka, nuniotoni, filamaya. compassion. All my relations, grandmother, water is life. We are grateful. Kumpashalai, unchi malaye, mijakyeo, unchi maka, many ochoni, tilamaya. Thank you all so very much, and hope to see you again next month for our final in this series.
Well, once again, it's great to be here for another episode of the Wisdom Council. And of course, this month we're talking about the various attributes of how animals can teach human beings to be more human. And our specific focus is animals that have kind of above normal skills or can teach us things that are really extraordinary to help us tap into even deeper aspects of our humanity. Of course, in indigenous teachings and traditional wisdom, there's really no separation from the internal environment and with the external world. A lot of us tend to look at the environment as something outside of ourselves, but as we know, we have a stomach, we have a digestive biome, and then of course is the biome of the environment that we live in, all very much connected and interconnected and interdependent. So it's fascinating when we start thinking about the role of how animals emulate and reflect these various attributes of spirituality, of consciousness, of the earth, and the wisdom that those animals carry as part of a larger grand design. I love to use the word biomimicry because nature's intelligence still, after millions of years, seems to be supreme in its design, even transcending the ideas, the philosophies, and kind of the limitation of us as human beings. So again, biomimicry is emulating the grand design of nature's intelligence through animals, through ourselves, and being able to learn from that. Sometimes it can be plants. Today, we're specifically speaking about animals. So it's very interesting to get to do this broadcast today because I recently left Colorado, where I'm surrounded by antelope and elk herds and majestic 14, 15,000 foot mountains, living a very quiet, simple existence of a human being human, not human doing. And now I'm in Los Angeles, and it's very apropos because every time we take on these subjects with Wisdom Council, whatever it might be, I tend to find that these messages that we're looking and talking about really become hyper amplified and accentuated through our experiences. So again, this is not just empty words or talking. These are living embodiments of wisdom, walking in truth, walking on the path, and the embodiment and full realization of these types of teachings. It's not just words on a page. So I really appreciate all the presentations today with Grandmother Gail Thomas and Patricia Pachimama and Lenny and others who presented today. So much wisdom there. And I started off this series talking about Sasquatch, and then we pivoted to dolphins. And today I'm going to talk about the fact that I'm in Los Angeles, and I'm literally going to the top of the tallest building in downtown LA, the US Bank building, for a gathering of innovators and solutionaries that are helping to find solutions for the world's challenges right now around health and sustainability and environment. So on my way here today, I decided to pivot the topic And not until I got to the building did I realize I'm on like the 90th floor of, strangely enough, the US Bank building, talking about traditional wisdom, indigenous wisdom. And the animal that really came to me very clearly and has been very prevalent lately in my experiences in Colorado has been the eagle, particularly the bald eagle. Of course, there's also golden eagle, but both of them, which I've experienced recently, actually bookended by being caught in a buffalo herd the other day coming through the Continental Divide Pass. I was going to do buffaloes, but I'm pivoting to eagles. Now, what really inspires me about eagles and being here at the top of the world in LA is the idea of having very powerful vision. And it's really this wisdom that the eagle shares that I've been able to observe that has brought me to the height of heights. Of course, eagles mostly fly alone. They fly at incredible heights and they have powerful vision. And it's those kind of attributes and that discourse I've had with the eagle being that brought me to being here of all places in LA at the top of this building to discuss the vision of how we can help create a more sustainable society, how we can live more harmoniously in relationship to each other and the planet, but right in the middle of this incredible urban sprawl. And it's at a very pivotal time coming with the World Cup and the Olympics and all the things that are coming here in LA in the next couple of years, people from all over the world coming here. So I feel like, as ironic as it might seem, that this is a very powerful time for this transformation of the human condition, especially now that in a lot of indigenous teachings and wisdom, they talk about going from the fourth to the fifth world, Koyaanisqatsi, the world out of balance, the great purification, all of these prophetic things. But I'm not here to talk about prophecy today. I'm here to talk about animal powers. So the eagle tends to fly alone. And this has been an amazing year of leaving Colorado and just going back into the world after 5 years of spiritual retreat and just being in the mountains of Colorado. The medicine that the eagle brings a powerful vision. And another interesting thing is that eagles have been shown that they love storms. They love flying into these storms of chaos and torment of where the elements are really activated. And again, here I am in LA, not in the Rockies. And it's been very dynamic. Also, the sand fire is happening right now, which is another warning to humanity about being more resilient, more in tune with the land, and more conscious land stewardship. But the idea of like loving storms. And another thing about eagles that I found out is that eagles don't actually eat dead things. Eagles tend to only eat living things. So there's a whole profound symbolism in that. I'm a vegetarian, but the idea of not preying on the carcass of things that are dead, things that have died, but the chi, the life force, the energy, the interaction, the vibrancy, and of course in many indigenous cultures, how everything was respected in the process of life feeding life. Slightly different than me as my philosophy as a vegetarian. Of course, even vegetables and plant matter is still alive. It might not have quite the same type of consciousness and self-awareness, but nonetheless. But I thought that was a really fascinating point. And the other thing is that eagles have a nature of testing things before they trust it. And that can be parallel to a lot of different things, including when baby eagles are hatched and leave the nest. So part of my work and the message of Eagle right now is testing relationships, testing opportunities and situations here before really trusting people and trusting the process and committing my sacred energy to my work here and what I'm supposed to do for the future of people and planet. So definitely a big acknowledgement to the mystical, spiritual, and majestic power of the bald eagle, which is also a symbol of the United States of America. And that's a whole other discussion, but our whole country, our whole culture, the whole system needs to be regenerated and brought back more to a sacred circle and a council, not a hierarchy as we see it moving. So it's really about policy and people, not party and politics. So that about does it for me today. And thanks for joining us, and looking forward to our next episode of Wisdom Council here in June of 2026. Thank you.
Thank you all who joined us, and that may we walk in beauty, connecting more and more with all the surroundings of nature, of all these animals, birds, snakes, horses. You know, we had the other session with the sharing of horses and bees and all that, you know. They're all here to teach us, and we're just another little animal, you know. You know, in between them, just, you know, we're not the ones. And to be able to open up space to have this connection and open-hearted with silence and just no judgment, just not even fear, just be there, just observe, you know. This is a beautiful, beautiful time for us to do that with the moments we're living, you know, just to be present and open to what nature brings us, and especially the animals. Thank you all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you,
Well,
Patricia.
it's a Nugama.
So glad you could be with us tonight, James. Next month, we're going to talk about entering the fifth world, and does that align with the three?
Next month, we're going to talk about entering this fifth world. And does it align with the three dimensions that we're familiar with, or is there more that the animals are teaching us about dimensions? What is it? What are they teaching us? They have so many abilities, so many magical quantum occurrences that we can't even imagine. You know, so let's really open up and figure out how we can be more attentive, how we can be really good students in the teachings that they want to share with us. So please join us again next month in the new moon. Much love and gratitude to all of you, and until again.